Hello and welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Keto Man's Club podcast. We're excited to have you here today. My name is Chris, and today we're going to dig into the life of Jim. Jim is one of our other hosts, if you don't know. Jim, say hi.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be to our listeners. Thank you for tuning in to the Keto Man's podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And on my left, let's introduce Alberto Casillas. Say hi.
How's it going, gentlemen?
Not too bad.
So in case you guys didn't know, fire ants suck, and they hurt like hell. And I'm not sure if you saw my post earlier this week of me getting stung by a fire ant while cutting mesquite wood so I can smoke ribs in the rain with a rain-modified smoker. And if that doesn't scream Texan, I don't know what does.
I think the comment that I... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know that I would even know what a fire ant looks like. I'm just imagining large, red, about 500 legs and fangs like Dracula kind of. Is that a close physical description?
They're tiny. They are black and red. And believe it or not, the stingers on the back end, but they sting over their head like a scorpion and not down like a wasp, which just seems incredibly inefficient. But either way, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all.
But the most important question, though, is how was the barbecue and the ribs and everything?
Oh, those came out great. After everything I went through to get that thing started, there was no choice for that stuff to come out great.
Yeah, I saw that rig, and I'm like, yep, that's a pretty Texan rig right there. You're gonna barbecue.
That's how you modify your smoker to just smoke ribs in monsoon conditions.
Yeah, that was a crazy day. It was like nonstop. My dogs were crazy all day. Okay, so any news, any big events that happened this week in the keto space that you guys can think of that you want to talk about?
I guess the one thing that I would throw out to start is in our Facebook group, which is kind of the origin of where this podcast has come from and where a lot of things are going to be coming from in the coming weeks and months. Just seeing some of the success stories of some of our members in there. Chris did a great survey as we're diving in a little bit deeper to know what our guys are going through and numbers that they're experiencing in terms of inches lost, weight loss, things like that. And it's been pretty eye-opening for those posts to come through and seeing how well men are doing following this way of eating. So I think that's just kind of a great thing to wake up in the morning and, lay there in bed, scroll through what's happened on Facebook overnight and see some of the photos of the guys, the befores and afters and the befores and durings, because they're not to where not where their after is just yet. They're not quite there, but they're in a great process. And especially since as we're recording this, we're just a few months into the year, and a lot of guys did start with the kind of the New Year's resolution, and the numbers are just growing tremendously. So kudos to all of the folks out there that are listening who are following this way of eating, and the guys in the Keto Men's Club who are really honing in on the numbers and the lifestyle and everything and making it happen.
Yeah, it's really been inspiring and encouraging to get to see so many people really seeing dramatic changes. Some of them, more long-term, some of them short-term, but dramatic changes nonetheless. And that's been really encouraging to a guy like myself that's 2 years in. And, you learn, at least for me, I kind of lost a little bit of my focus, but I'm focused again, and it's good. Intermittent fasting is definitely doing its trick on me. Getting back into that habit, that's helpful. So yeah, it's been great seeing the very early numbers. The survey has only been up for a short while. We're already probably at or over a literal 2,000 pound ton of of weight lost by the members that have reported. And I think it's under like 35 people so far. We've got 2,000 members in the group. So I can't even imagine how much cumulative weight we've actually lost as a group. And it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, so this week we wanted to go ahead and dive in a little bit on Jim's life a little bit, try to get a good idea of who he is, what drives him, and all of that. So, Jim, you're in the hot seat. We're all going to take turns. So you're in the hot seat this week. And so let's just start out with the really basic stuff. You kind of went through some of this last week in the quick intro, but you can feel free to dive as deep as you want. So let's start out at the origin. Where do you live now, and where did you come from?
I feel like I've just laid down on a psychologist couch, the virtual couch, and laying it all out here. So I live in Bloomington, Indiana. I have lived here my entire life. I'm 43 years old. Grew up with the stereotypical father, mother, younger sister situation and everything, and currently working in local nonprofit type stuff. So I've been in business in my community for 20 years, working for a different number of different organizations, and that's pretty much the basic idea of who I am, so to speak. So I'll shut up and let you and our wonderful co-host Alberto quiz me on whatever you want to know. That's one of 20 questions. Let's put it that way.
At least 20. At least 20.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how life was growing up as it relates to health specifically. For you in that time, were you aware of it? Were you in sports? What was that all like for you?
Sure. So I was the oldest of two. I was pretty active as a kid, but I was always a bigger kid. I just always was. So, but that was height, that was weight, that was everything. When I had my 13th birthday, I have this in my kitchen in the inside of a cabinet door, which is where my dad used to keep it at my parents' old home. My dad put an ad in the local newspaper that had my baby photo and my baby weight. And then at age 13, I was 5'11", 175. So I was like, a man kind of thing when I turned 13 years old. I remember being in like some junior high choir thing or something, and I came going into sixth grade, and when you're there and you're like the only guy whose voice has changed, a girl I kind of had a crush on said, "You sound like a foghorn," and I lived with the nickname Foghorn for 3 years in junior high. But that's another therapy session for another time. So the thing that was kind of unique for my family experience growing up is that my father was a police officer. He was a sheriff's deputy for about 30 years locally, and he was also a heart patient. And when I was very little, he had his first heart attack. He was not obese at all. It was just kind of when you're at such a young age, 4 or 5 years old, it's just kind of you accept it as what it is because it is what it is. You don't know any different, so to speak. So heart attack at a young age. Then when I was a freshman in high school, he had his second heart bypass surgery. He had his first one about a year after the heart attack. And at that time, it was still an uncommon procedure, but becoming more prevalent. And he also needed an aortic valve replacement. So that procedure was done in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, by a cardiology specialist. And my dad was up there for about 5-6 weeks, a lot of different complications and things. And so I kind of grew up in that whole understanding of going to a hospital, you get sick, you get well, and things move on kind of thing. So fast forward to 2002, 2003, my dad was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, had a heart transplant in October 2003. The transplant did well, but he had a number of complications resulting from being sick for so long, and he passed away about 2 months post-transplant.
Mm-hmm.
And what ultimately learned through a lot of this was that he had a condition called factor V Leiden, and it's not a common thing, but it is a blood clotting disorder that if you are prone for an extended period of time, if you're flat on your back recovering from a procedure, if you are flying around the world, if you're locked up in a vehicle for 12, 14, 16 hours and you're not moving, you're much more likely to get a blood clot. And after his heart transplant, they obviously took him off all the heart medicines he'd been on because new heart, everything's working brand new, and he would have these random blood clots.
Mm.
And the doctors determined that he had that blood clotting disorder, and it was a number of complications with that. After his passing, I got the genetic testing and found out that I have it as well. So I just do the double baby aspirin every morning to kind of act as a natural blood thinner. And a previous job, I used to do a lot of flying cross country and things, and always try to get an aisle seat, not just for the comfort factor, but if I'm on a plane for 4 or 5 hours, get up, walk around 2 or 3 times just to help things and all of that. So all of that together, life in general and everything, kind of led me to this keto point about 2.5 years or so ago. So it's a long-winded answer there, guys.
That's okay. That's okay.
Deep.
You
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot to go through. That's a yeah. I mean, I give you kudos for getting the genetic testing and foreseeing what could possibly be your future and taking hopefully the appropriate steps to kind of push it off to the
Yeah.
side. That's huge.
It is, yeah. Those who ever follow the TV show Friends, one of my favorites was Courtney Cox, who played Monica. And if you knew like some of her celebrity life or whatever, Courtney Cox had 3 or 4 miscarriages when she was married, and during that time, she has that factor V Leiden blood clotting disorder, and that's one of the complications if you're female and have that is the likelihood of having a miscarriage. So it's not so common, but it's somewhat uncommon. My dad had a condition called phlebitis in high school, which is kind of an inflammation of veins and legs and things like that. And basically, what I kind of learned through all of this process again over decades was that he just didn't have the best heart. It wasn't that he had done anything wrong, but there were things that were back when he was a teenager, young adult, that were part of that. So it didn't mean though that my father, like I said, was a police officer for 30 years. He coached Little League Baseball. We took family vacations. I mean, all the normal stuff was there, but it just every 8-10 years kind of was we need to do a tune-up kind of thing. And so that's where it went. And then he passed away, like I mentioned, in 2003. He was 55 years old, so not old at all. And so anyway, that's kind of, again, through all of that and different things that I've gone through kind of led me to this point with the keto group and eating that way and taking it from there.
So before you got to keto, when you were looking at healthy, changes that you could make, what were some of the ones that you dug into that you find? Did you could find keto straight away? What was all of that?
No, my joke is when I go to the gym that I probably should have paid more attention in junior high PE. I probably if I had liked PE more and done things, I might not have had to go through some of these struggles and things. But about 8-9 years ago, got connected with a gym in my community that like the group. It was a group atmosphere and everything, and some personal training, but there was a competitive nature to it in that they would do boot camps, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And you would, start off, you obviously have to report your food every day and things like that, but, you'd want to get in X number of minutes cardio a week. And there would be Tabata workouts where you do like 40 seconds at like a push pace, I guess you might call it, and then 20 seconds all out. And you would take breaks in between, but it was a heart rate type thing, and really enjoyed it. And you do these boot camps for like 8 weeks. weeks, and every couple of weeks you would whittle down more and more and more to the point where, you were just cutting calories and 1,000 minutes plus a week in a gym and all that other stuff. And that worked for the short term. But I remember when I got done with one of those, I had dropped over a total period of time about 35, 40 pounds. And this was over 4 or 5 months kind of thing. And then after I got done with one of those, it was summertime, and friends were like, "Hey, we're going to go to the local beer pub. We're going to drink beer. We're going to eat food and everything." Like, hey, I deserve this. I can go to one of these kind of things. So I was still maintaining the workout and everything, but have a couple beers or whatever, and went back for the weigh-in, and I was up like 13 pounds from my lowest, despite all these efforts that I had put into it. And what discouragement to feel like, oh my gosh, I can't ever be what I want to be. Did some other things over time, and a lot of it again was focused on working out. I enjoyed that. I mean, it wasn't uncommon to go on a 20-mile bike ride or go lift for 90 minutes or all those things that you kind of associate with a healthy lifestyle. And the counter side of that was I was still trying to go out with friends and have pizza and beer and all that other stuff. And it's not a direct calories in, calories out kind of thing. I mean, there is what you're putting into your body does matter. And so it was just kind of a yo-yo type experience for the last 8 or 9 years. Get down a little bit, up a little bit, and trying to find a sweet spot, if you will, of how this all works.
Like the old saying goes, you can't outwork a bad diet.
There you go. That's exactly right. Exactly
Lord
right.
knows I have tried. So in regards to keto, what would you say in hindsight was probably one of the side effects or one of the benefits since starting keto that has probably surprised you the most?
Let me preface that by saying I had a little bit of a medical issue when I was about 38, 39 years old, about 4 years ago, which ended up being an anxiety attack. But I thought it was heart related. And obviously, with family history, as I've shared here, that was the last thing that I wanted to have happen. I did the regular checkups and things with a doctor and all of that. But when I turned 40, I realized it was probably time to get a baseline on all the important numbers and do a good heart check and everything. So went to a doctor. Yes, Jim, you need to lose some weight. Did the stress test. Let me tell you, if you're listening to this and you've never had a stress test, you don't even, I can't even describe to you how intense it can be. So it's not a fun experience, but it is a necessary experience, and it does tell you a lot about it. So don't avoid it, but don't go into it thinking it's going to be a cakewalk, no pun intended. But did all these different things, and sugar level was a little bit high. And I do have a family history on my mom's side of diabetes. So started looking, and again, we talked about this on the previous episode about getting on Google, Facebook, looking at different groups and everything. I have a major in journalism, so research and everything. I love to do that kind of stuff, and started digging through some different groups, looking at different things. Found some groups on diabetic diets and whatnot, and then that kind of led me into the keto world. And there are a number of intro keto groups, both for the science of it. There's recipe groups. There's all these different things out there. So looking through all of those, kind of got some basic ideas, started buying the bacon, started buying the eggs, started, really trying to hone in on the macros and fine tune things and whatnot. I have never, and I will never claim to be perfect on it. There are times, when you go to Washington, D.C. with your friends for a wedding and you're just like, I'm all in, whatever it is, let's do it kind of thing. And you recoup. This is not this way of eating should never be considered a punishment or anything like that. It is a lifestyle change. People adapt to it, but I don't think anybody that's listening to this now or in the future are going to find that we're, so hardcore about it that you screw up one time and you're out of the group kind of thing. So I just kind of started doing my own research, started following the plan and everything, and it really started doing its thing. Inches started dropping, and shirt sizes went down, and lots of little things, and then bigger things, and so on. And talking to people that I know in my community that I'm friends with and whatnot. They've kind of followed that, like a lazy keto plan or something similar, as they've been trying to tone up, lose weight, things like that. And it's not that hard to do. You throw on some protein, you throw on some green, and away you go. Add some butter to it, like what's that lady in Savannah, Paula Dean, says, slap on a big old stick of butter kind of thing. So that's how it's come to where it's at today. I'm on the slow and steady plan, that I work out about 5 times a week, pretty high intensity, and trying to get a little bit more into the running side of things and whatnot. And the combination of everything is definitely making things improve.
Absolutely. What are some of the stats? Where'd you start? What change? What physical changes have you seen?
The numbers. When I work out at a national gym. There's one in my community. It's Orange Theory Fitness, and the idea behind it is you get your heart rate up to a certain level, and not only are you burning calories during the workout, but afterwards. I started that in July 2017, or excuse me, 2018, and right when I started was one of my an appointment I had with my cardiologist, and he was saying again, lose weight, blah blah blah, kind of thing. So in about a 6-month period, I dropped a shirt size. I dropped 5 to 6 belt notches. I mean, I really shrunk down a little bit, but I didn't lose as much weight as I had hoped. I went from about a 280 range to about a 265 kind of thing. And I really had a hard time with that number because when I went back to the doctor, like, hey, large shirt here, man, and pants are a couple sizes down and everything. And you step on the scale, they're like, no. Somebody's got their foot on it behind me and pulling a joke on me or something. This is not how it is, kind of thing. And so blood work came back well. There were a lot of good numbers on things. I haven't done one in recent years, but my doctor suggested, and I don't know the proper name of it, but you guys may be able to help me. One of those machines where basically you kind of step into it and it does the whole body mass index, so to speak. So even if you have 3 people that all weigh 200 pounds, but all are different heights, different builds and everything, it doesn't mean one is the right one, so to speak. So he said, you need to try one of those and see where you're at, because your numbers have definitely dropped. You're doing the right things. You've poned up a lot, and you've seen that, the 5 pounds of fat versus 5 pounds of muscle kind of thing. Muscle's leaner and all of that. I'm running a couple miles a day, which 9 months ago I was clinging to a treadmill at 4 miles an hour, like, for the love of all things holy, make it stop. There's definite improvement, kind of thing. But again, I need to get dialed in more on the numbers and things, and drop the weight down more. So physically, there's a noticeable difference. My weight numbers, I wish were lower, but again, everything's different for everybody, and it's improving. So I can't complain about that.
The most important question is, everybody struggles with the scale, but like what I always ask that comes up is, but how do you feel?
I feel pretty good. I do have a little bit of a knee issue that frustrates me to no end. So I watch that regularly, but for the most part, it's getting up. Life is not too bad. It's definitely an improvement from 2 or 3 years ago, where tired all the time and brain fog. Just not right, kind of thing. I've dealt with some depression and some anxiety things and different things that have been related to a variety of factors outside my control, so to speak. And I'm working on changing those factors as we speak, even. So there's a lot of world stuff that can impact the day to day as well. But ultimately, when I go to bed, I'm like, okay, I did pretty good today. Or, all right, Jim, you screwed up, but tomorrow you can go do this, get back on the track, and away you go. And we see, and I'm not justifying it all, but I see that a lot in our Facebook group, where guys will say, I went to a family reunion and I was not going to turn down my grandmother's homemade noodles or this dessert or whatever, but they're not gorging on stuff. They're having a sample of it just to get the taste again, and they move on, kind of thing. So that's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, just going back to the Orange Theory thing, I've taken a couple classes. I never even heard of it, so I moved to Texas, and it's a different monster. It is an incredible workout. And like, the first time I went, I was just pretty much trying to break the heart rate monitor, and they kept yelling at me because I'm like, red's good. They're like, no, it's called Orange Theory. You want to be in the orange? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, red's better than orange. Turns out, no. Then so it's kind of a weird thing when you actually start to get the concept. Okay, so like this is not 100% all out effort. It's more about like just pacing yourself, not going all out, but keeping your heart rate at just that right spot to where you can keep
Mm-hmm.
pushing at the same pace for the entire hour. Then they show you your estimated calorie burn. The estimated calorie burn from when I was there, just trying to break the machine versus the week after when I tried to stay a steady pace. I mean, it was a few hundred calorie difference, same amount of time in the workout. It was and I was in my head, I was trying less hard. So that was kind of a weird thing to
Right.
wrap my head around when I first started trying to get into that.
Well, when I started it, I was also taking a fairly low dose of Wellbutrin, which is an antidepressant and does some other things as well. It's an appetite suppressant. And when I first started walking in Orange Theory, you wear a heart rate monitor, as Alberto just mentioned, and I turn that thing on, and at least in my studio, my gym, there's a television screen that shows everybody's like first name and what their heart rate is and their calorie burn. And I would always be like in a zone before we'd even done anything. And when I had met with my cardiologist a couple times over the last year, he's like, your your resting heart rate is a little bit higher than ideal. And I ended up, I'm off the Wellbutrin now, and within a couple of weeks of coming off of that, my resting heart rate average dropped about 10 beats a minute. So I'm not saying, I'm not a doctor. I'm not advocating anybody to suddenly drop medicine or anything like that that's listening to this. But it did impact that for me personally. And so as a result of that, going to Orange Theory, when I was on the medicine, it seemed like I was always in the red or in the high orange fat burn zones. And since I've come off that, it's been a little bit lower. So I have to work a little bit harder to get in those areas. But it's also the combination of I've improved physically. So what used to be taxing to get to is easier for me to get to now. I can run at an 8-minute a mile pace for 60, 90 seconds without any issue. 8, 9 months ago, there would have been no way. So it's all, again, there's so many components to all of this, putting it together, but that's why you fine tune things, talk with your doctors, talk to people who know about this stuff, and learn as much as you can.
Absolutely. So, Jim, what is like, and if it needs to be 2 or 3, that's fine. But what would you say are like the number one, or at least the top 3 resources, podcasts, books, websites that you think anyone looking into or who's been on keto for a little while but just needs more information and wants to dive a little bit deeper? What are the top resources that you would recommend that you found most useful for you?
Well, number one, of course, is the Keto Man's Club, because it has you two gentlemen and 2,200 plus other people. So I have to give that the top plug, that top spot. Again, looking on social media and looking for a ketogenic group. There are so many of them out there. With the caveat, there are so many out there. There are some that have very distinct benefits to them. They're for beginners. There's links in those for meal plans and things like that. Nobody's obligated to stay in a group or anything on Facebook. Once you get in there, if you don't like the way it's handled or anything, just click leave group and you're out and it's done. So I would encourage you to kind of dig around and search through those and things. One that I don't really get onto, but I have an account because I found some stuff over the last couple of years, is Pinterest. It definitely has it's geared towards females, and it's wedding planning and all these other things, but you can find all kinds of recipes on there. You can look at the way that people are doing things. Like if Instapots became a big thing in the last year or so, you can do all kinds of stuff with those, like a slow cooker, and make things relatively easy. So you can get ideas very simply on Pinterest, print stuff off, what have you. Those two things, and then I guess I would say just your own research. I mean, even going to your local library and looking up things that are diabetic diets, low carb, high fat. I mean, there's all kinds of cookbooks and things out there. You can even search Google or wherever if you have a certain food type that you like. Put in keto and broccoli, and you're going to get 10 million recipes that come up and ideas and things. There are so many things that can be adapted and adjusted or substituted. So if you have a favorite food item, you can make it still. It may taste a little bit different, but you're going to get your fix from it. We haven't even delved into fathead dough and how that can be used in so many different ways. So if you want pizza, you can do something like that. Doesn't mean that you can eat a 16-inch homemade pizza in one sitting, but there's a number of things out there.
Yeah, I can too.
Okay, fair point. Fair point. So yes, if you want to eat the 16-inch pizza, we will celebrate you and do it if you just do it the right way. Yeah, I'll shut up there.
The fathead pizza is too good. My wife and I will make two of them, and we'll make different toppings on each one, of course, and all of that. That's actually one of the few things that my wife allows me to cook, because I make the dough and then she helps with the toppings, and it's good that way. But it's easy too. That's also helpful. But yeah, we will leave like 2 pieces total out of 2 pizzas worth of two full recipes.
My goodness,
that's where you go wrong. I just cut it into 4 pieces.
Yeah, we probably but we put those suckers down pretty quickly. They don't last. We're very full after. That's usually my only meal a day right now. So you kind of got this Keto Man's Club thing started. What did you have, like a vision for at first, or is this like exceeding your hopes and dreams? Tell us a little bit about how it's been for you watching this group.
I have admin, moderated, whatever you want to call it, a number of Facebook pages and groups over the years, work related, personal related, all different kinds of things. And as we talked about in the previous episode, there and 5 minutes ago, there are so many different keto groups out there that have good information and good resources for those who are looking to start into this way of eating. And I am grateful for all of those out there. When I was learning about all of this and really trying to hone in on things and whatnot, what I was finding is that the group resources that I was going to, there was a lot of repetition, and it would be the people who would write, and I mean, you guys can vouch for me on this. Somebody would write, "I'm new to the group. What do I need to do?" Or I need to lose weight. How do I do keto? And it's like, hey, there's 13,000 people in this group. There's a pinned post right at the top that has all your basic info. Take 2 minutes and read through it, and you're going to get the things that you need. Then you have to be self-sufficient. You have to be the one that when you go to the grocery store, you don't walk down the potato chip aisle. You don't walk down the candy aisle. Go to the meat section. You go to the fresh vegetable section. Go to whatever you need and do that. And unfortunately, a lot of people have challenges with that. So there was a guy, Nick, who I've never met. He lives, I think, in Oklahoma, and was somehow, some way, we got connected in one of those keto beginner groups, and we started private messaging and saying, hey, wish there was this and this, and he's like, well, maybe we need a keto group or something like that. And I just kind of, okay. So thinking about it for a day or two, off and on, like, okay, well, here's what I would want. I want a group that is where the participants are already familiar with it. I want there to be a definite camaraderie. I want it to be a niche that is not already being met. And so just thought, well, let's just try this Keto Man's Club. And I've had a couple people say, why is it not the Keto Men's Club? And the idea is that I like the individuality of being keto man. Everybody's in this on their own, but we're all in it together, kind of thing. So that's why it's man as opposed to men for the group. And so Nick was my first guy to join in, and in those groups that we were in, you would see somebody's post of losing 60, 70 pounds and how great that was and everything. And so I would write a legitimate comment, feedback note, whatever, saying, congratulations, great job. Come share your success in the Keto Man's Club. And I would tag the group, and it was never a hard push or anything, just subtle. And lo and behold, 1, 2, 10, 15, 20 kind of thing. And as the group grew, I kind of realized I was stepping back from the other groups, and like, okay, I've got what I need here, and word of mouth, all different kinds of things. And now we're at 2,300 members, growing every day, and it's amazing. It really is. And we talked about it in the last episode, and we'll talk about it again through this podcast series of the guys who are sharing their stories, the guys who are fit and getting it, and just so proud of themselves. And then there's guys who are timid and are not wanting to post up a body shot or whatever, or they'll put something up that says, I'm embarrassed to do this, but I know that you guys will be supportive. You won't make fun of me, things like that. I occasionally deal with fat kid third grade syndrome, and just like, oh Lord, here it comes again. And there's none of that in what we have in the Keto Man's Club. And that's where we support one another. There's good natured ribbing, don't get me wrong, but for the guys who are really striving for success and challenges and things like that, I mean, it is 100%. You got this. Go team. Whatever we can do to help, we're here. So it has exceeded what I ever envisioned it to be. And now taking it to a podcast and some other things that we're hoping to get done. This is awesome. This is awesome.
No, and in regards to the group, I mean, it's almost like it's just one of those things, like right place, right time. Almost like catching lightning in a bottle. Like,
Right.
We've had a couple arguments, and people will say, "Well, I'm just going to go start my own group." They're like, yeah, well, rock on, man. I mean, like,
Yep.
You're more than welcome to try, and it could equally be successful. Maybe it's going to be more successful, but just the way this group has come together and the culture it's created, like that can't be duplicated. Like, I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine. It's like, how do these kids on YouTube become millionaires reviewing toys? Like if I took my kids and put them in front of a camera to review toys, chances are no one's going to care. But they just happen to be at the right time, at the right spot, and just everything just kind of aligned for them. And like you could try to duplicate that exact scenario a million times, and you're not going to end up with the same result. And that's kind of like how I feel where we're at with this group. I got in right around, I think, it was like 300 something. I have this habit every time I join a group to see how many members there are. And I was right around the 300 mark, and I'm like, hey, nice and small. You should probably stay that way for a while. And it didn't. But I'm just coming in from that point to where it is now. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I am far more active on that page than I am on my own personal page. And a lot of the friends carry over. Like if you look at my personal page, there's not a whole lot of fitness, and there's a lot of food, but there's not a whole lot of fitness. There's not a lot of videos of me working out because people don't care. They just don't.
Right.
But I can post it in the group. And in the group, people care, and they get comments, and I get feedback, and then that's what that group is for. And I think that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. I mean, you guys, the rest of the moderator team and admin team, keeping a tight ship. But, the expectation is set very early of how the group is going to be run and what we want people to do. It's open participation and things like that. And it's turned out really, really well. Now, if somebody said, hey, if you want to take this to YouTube and make $10 million to talk about that, just like those kids and the toys, we are all going to share in that love. I'll tell you that right now.
I'll take it. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're kind of getting close to time, so let's go ahead and start wrapping things up a little bit. So we at least every now and again, we want to highlight somebody that's really just stood out to us. Somebody. So was it Alberto? Did you have that person, or was it Jim that mentioned him?
I think it was both of us. I think, to be perfectly honest, I think everyone was pretty much blown away by the picture. And I'll just go ahead and call him Joey C, one of our members. You know who you are. We need you to reach out to us and talk to us. I mean, it takes. I'm just going to say it takes balls to post those pictures that you did and
Mm-hmm.
just put it all out there. Say this is where I started. This is where I'm at. And I don't remember the exact time frame off the top of my head, but it did not take him that long
No, it
to
was
lose
very
all
quick.
that weight, which is absolutely mind blowing and incredibly inspiring. So Joey, you know who you are. Reach out to us. We would love to get you on and talk to you and get your thoughts on things. And anyone else for that matter, anything you'd like to hear us talk about, any discussions, any questions, hate mail. I love hate mail. By all means, send it all to me. Comments, anything. The email address is Keto Man's Club Podcast at gmail.com. And I'll say that again just because it bears repeating. Keto Man's Club Podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out and along with that, we're just getting started, and right now reviews are really important. We want to get the word out, and for the algorithm to help us, if you could go to iTunes, even if you don't listen on iTunes, if you would go to the iTunes store and the podcast app and leave a comment, even just a 5-star review, or just be honest. If you want to leave us 1 star, if you think it's crap, let us know. Well, Alberto will love reading those out too. So we would like to hear feedback from you on what you want to hear, and then if you'll share that publicly via the reviews, that would be excellent, because that's going to help us get the word out further. And make sure that you subscribe, so that you can, in your whatever podcast feed app that you use, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, because that helps you not miss out on our lovely voices.
And if you go to theketomansclub.com, that will take you right now to our Facebook group. Would love to have you join if you're interested in seeing some of the photos and hearing more of the stories and things like that. And again, as the podcast progresses, more things will be coming, and there's a lot of cool stuff to follow. So
absolutely. Well, any parting shots, anything that anybody has to share that we've missed? I think that we've hit most of the main bullet points.
No, I think I appreciate the time to share a little bit about the story. Everybody's got one, and hopefully you find your why. It's a common phrase that a lot of people use, but it's very important. And find your why of why you are following this way of eating, why you're following this podcast, whatever the case may be. We're here to help. We're here to give you our insight, our personal experiences, and whatnot. And join us for the ride.
Alberto, anything from you?
I was gonna say there's a lot of people in that group that I draw a lot of inspiration from. I just called out Joey there, but there's a lot of you. Don't think I'm singling him out. I mean, I want to talk to each and every one of you that's had success. Anyone that thinks they want to reach out and get on this podcast and share a few words or what's inspired you the most or what you love, what you hate. Like I said, feel free to reach out to us. We'd like to talk to as many of our members as we can. Like, this is episode number 2. We don't know what to expect. We don't know where it's going to go. If we get 25% of our group to say they want to come talk to us, that's 500 episodes right there. And I don't know. I think it could be a really cool thing, to have this next level of interaction with the people that you're interacting with digitally on a daily basis. And I think we could definitely make something of it and then inspire each other even further.
Absolutely.
500. That I have never thought about it that way. That is a fantastic. That's awesome. Yeah. That's why you're a co-host and the king of all things, Alberto. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And just, this is news to you guys too. I was kind of, chatting, text messaging a little bit with Mr. Danny Vega. Anybody that's into the big athletic side of the keto space, he's kind of a big name. And he and his wife host the Fast Fuel Family. He said he'd love to come on our podcast, so we're probably going to have him on at some point, and get to talk, to get his perspective on exercise and things like that. He would be a really great one for that. But all things keto, he's great. He's awesome.
Yeah, he is incredibly well educated in everything sports performance. So hopefully this podcast hits the airwaves before we have him on. And if you guys have a specific question about health and nutrition, I cannot think of a better person to answer it for you in great detail in human language that you'll
Absolutely.
understand.
So, Chris, that is why you're the co-host of this show also, and that's why you're awesome. So, kudos
It
to
helps
you
that I
boys.
edit the Fatfield Family podcast. So I know people.
It's all about who you know, brother.
Okay, so one last thing that I thought of that, other than the Facebook group, is there any place that you guys would like to share, like Instagram or, well, mainly Instagram because we're already on Facebook with everybody in our group. Do you guys want to share that or what would you like to do? I have Duckman Keto that you can follow on Instagram. That's where I post all my keto related stuff. I try not to bore my normal followers with all my keto banter. So that's mine. Alberto, Jim, you guys?
Mine is Capital Painter. It is not very active. It's 60% random car facts and car painting facts and cool pictures. And the other 20% is videos of me working out. And the other 20% might be food. I don't post on there very often. I try to stick more to originally tried to stick more to the car painting side of things, but that just got boring. So I just started throwing all kinds of stuff up there. So, I mean, feel free. Capital Painter.
Okay, Jim.
And my personal Instagram is, I have to remember it. That's the problem. It is Jim Inman Jr. JIMINMAN JR. You will see my 3 wonderful Labrador retrievers for the most part in there. You'll see a couple of tours around the world kind of thing. Well, more of tours around southern Indiana, but so yeah, you can check out that as well. Follow along, see some different things. And Chris was good enough, speaking of surprises and things, to set up our own Keto Man's Club Instagram as well, correct?
Yes, and it is just that Keto Man's Club podcast on Instagram. Follow us there. We'll post pictures when we release an episode. We'll get a picture out there, maybe even a snippet to make sure that you can get a little taste that will make sure that you know that you want to hear that episode because you know that you're going to want to hear every episode. But yeah, we'll get that up there on there and be able to share things out quickly, not just in the Facebook group, but also on that Instagram.
Wonderful.
So it'll be helpful that way.
Wonderful.
Okay, well, gentlemen, it's been great chatting with you again, and this is pretty much time for us tonight. So let's go ahead and go out and keto on.
Thank you, Chris.
Take it easy, gentlemen.
See you guys. Bye. Thank you for joining us for the Keto Man's Club podcast. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Would you help us spread the word about the Keto Man's Club by sharing with your friends and family? We're available on all podcast platforms, so just search for Keto Man's Club and you'll find us. If you would like to connect with us, you can do so a number of ways. Our web address leads to our Facebook group, theketomansclub.com. That's TheKetoMansClub.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Keto Man's Club Podcast. Lastly, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out via email to KetoMansClubPodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to hanging out with you again next week.